So, Sousou no Frieren. You know, it doesn't feel like it's been that long since I was celebrating the fact that the manga was getting its first animated preview. But look at us now. We're here at the end of its first season. And not even just that, this first season is now being widely acclaimed as being one of the greatest anime adaptations ever made. What? Hold on, I'm having a major case of whiplash right now. Just a few months ago, nobody really knew about this series. The only people that were really hyping it up were people like me that were saying, oh, the manga's so good, so this is just gonna be a nice slice of life that takes place in a fantasy world that's just gonna be chill. I wasn't expecting that everyone was gonna fall in love with this show, and especially the level of reverence that it has. And I mean, let me show you. Look. Here on my anime list, it's #1. And it's not a recent #1, it's not something like the season finale aired and then everyone just started to give it a 10. Successes like that happen all the time. Kaguya's up there for like maybe a week or two and then it's gone. No, Frieren has been up here for many weeks. And just look at its score, 9.30. The series that comes second here is none other than Full Metal Alchemist, the last #1 at 9.09. So it doesn't have a little marginal lead. And again, it's been like this for quite some time. But why though? How come everyone's been able to just appreciate how good this series is? And how did it reach rankings like these? Well, I'm Bayfond, and I'm gonna try my best to see if I can come up with some sort of reason as to how it became so popular. Frieren is such a unique take on the entire fantasy genre. It's unlike pretty much any of its contemporaries when it comes to how it deals with these scenarios. Pretty much every fantasy anime that's out there right now is either a power fantasy or is an isekai. And they're all right now filled with the same kind of cliche story. Guy comes in, he's underestimated because he's weak or looks weak, and all of a sudden he gets the power to take on gods and anything that he just wishes to fight. But the market's been oversaturated with this kind of stuff for more than a decade. And Frieren over here is something that is definitely not that. Frieren is an anime that rejects a lot of the things that make anime. Sure, the story follows an elf who looks pretty young, but it's like 1,000 years old, which is a normal cliche in most anime. But she isn't gonna be over-sexualized like in all of those other stories where there's characters that are very similar. There's no big bad or one specific character that our characters are trying to confront. This is a story that takes place many years after that kind of thing was already taken care of. This is the story of an adventure of someone trying to connect with those that they've lost in the past. And in the meantime, learning as much as they can about the world, the magic that's in the air, and the people that are with them at that second. This is a series that I could recommend to pretty much everyone. There's nothing that's gonna scare or put anyone off from watching it further because, well, it's trying to be a good story first and foremost. It's not trying to cater to any one specific audience. And it does a sublime job at the storytelling. There are themes of regret, unrequited love, indecision, growing up, and none of it feels like it's just on a surface level. Frieren tries to explore all of these things profoundly. It's a series that takes itself as serious as it needs to be. It's gonna give you an amazing fight sequence one episode with some of the most dazzling effects that pretty much go toe-to-toe to any shonen series that's out at the current moment, and then immediately cuts back to one of the most wholesome slice of life scenes that you've seen in a long time. All to then wrap up on a joke that's gonna make you laugh because these characters are enjoying themselves. And none of it feels like it's disjointed or awkwardly put together. It all flows seamlessly. This is a series that's able to switch tones on the fly, and it's not always gonna be completely adrenaline-filled dopamine shooting into your eyes 24/7. I know a lot of people out there are disputing Frieren as the #1 anime, and you know, rightly so. Not everyone's gonna say that this is their cup of tea, but one of the biggest reasons that I see out there are that people call this series boring, which is something that I've personally heard a lot, but that's also what the story's about. Taking the slow path, taking your time with things, learning, seeing that the world around you is larger than it seems. While this is a series that is able to pretty much do everything, it doesn't need to if you want to stay engaged. The characters in this story, in my opinion, do that just enough already. Frieren, our aloof protagonist over here, is unlike so many others. She's someone who would rather lazily hang around for 100 years than actively go on a mission. For her, a decade is probably the equivalent of half a year. Time is really nothing for her, which makes it so much more compelling when she's dealing with everyone else in our cast. She outlived the hero party and was out doing her own thing. She also partially ended up raising Fern, another similarly apathetic sorcerer that's the apprentice to Frieren. Frieren takes her on a journey to End, where she wants to meet her former comrades. And on the way, they meet so many colorful characters, like one of the most important people on the cast, Stark, a warrior that has trouble with being courageous, but tries regardless. You could say that these three are the main heart of the series, and they feel like a family. Every one of their interactions with one another is real. Even when they bicker and fall out, which happens quite often, it's like you're watching a family on a road trip. But they wouldn't be on this trip if it wasn't for probably the most influential character in the series and outside in the real world, Himmel. The guy that in Japan has become synonymous with doing the right thing. The phrase, "that's what Himmel will do," is something that's so common that it's been adopted into the everyday vocabulary. And it makes sense. This guy is the absolute pinnacle of perfection. He is the most amazing protagonist you could have in any series. And here, we're just seeing him in flashbacks because his time is already ended. If initially, you're not already sold with our trio of heroes, Himmel is the person that will make you swoon. They're gonna capture your heart because of just how good-natured they are. Even though he's long dead, the man holds #1 in the Japanese popularity polls. I guess this really shows just how important it really means when you're trying to keep someone alive in your memories, because every one of those flashbacks, his points just keep racking up. And all of the side characters that show up as well all have this wisdom to them. They share something to the story of significance. None of these characters feel like they're a waste of time. Even if they show up for just a few seconds, they're still gonna make you laugh. And that goes for all of the ones that are helping our heroes and all of the villains as well. The adversaries here are demons. They're monsters that look and think kind of like humans, but they lack any of the emotions, any of the sympathy, empathy that humans have that make them perfect killing machines. They are very interesting characters because there's a lot of people that want to forgive them and want to give them a chance, but they're irredeemable. We've seen that time and time and time again, but they're always so compelling to see. So much so that Aurora, one of the people that were holding a town hostage, ended up taking the second place spot right behind Himmel in the popularity poll. Yeah, that's wild. How do you make a character that only shows up for like a handful of episodes so popular? And you can say the same thing over here with Ubel and Four Eyes. No matter what kinds of characters step in, even if they're heartless murderers, the story's still gonna make them entertaining to watch and people that you surprisingly want to root for. It's weird. The story has this unique charm to it. And this atmosphere is also greatly helped out by the fact that the music is just so nice. It's so calming. If you come home from a long day at work and you just want to relax, you can just put on one of these episodes and it's so relaxing that you could probably fall asleep to it in the kindest way possible. A lot of fantasy series and a lot of anime in general love to be edgy. They love to push the envelope in what they can do, and they just try to be completely vile. Frieren never goes that route. That would be completely against what the entire story pretty much stands for. Even if there are teams, even if there are people that are just completely opposed to Frieren, the story's gonna find a way to make them relatable. And again, it's not just me saying this. Every time that our side characters do anything, it seems like there's another meme that gets made out of them. Denkin, my personal MVP, I goddamn love this guy, ended up being the face of throwing hands even when it seems that there's no hope left. It makes you adore everyone, even if you had no intention of liking anyone. It's masterful at how it does these things. And that's the kind of thing that you want your stories to be able to do. You don't want to watch a series for countless episodes and not be invested in the characters or the plot lines. You want to be at the edge of your seat. You want to see what's going to happen next. You want to know their thought process, their experiences, everything that they've gone through. And Frieren's a series that's not afraid to show us everything. My personal favorite situation that we see time and time again is the slow, dreadfully, painfully slow burn of Himmel x Frieren, because it's a love that never came to fruition. It's one of the most wholesome, respectful relationships characters could have in a story, and, well, it's heartbreaking to see. I say this time and time again, in this scene, Himmel was not just talking about the comet. I think it's everything like this put together that just makes this series great. It makes it fantastic. But what puts it over the edge is the fact that it plays it safe. And that's not me saying it in a negative way. It ignores all of the things that make anime feel weird and off-putting in general, and delivers a solid story. A trait that is common with the previous number one, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. I can tell you this, Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood is one of those series that, again, I can recommend to everyone. It's baby's first anime, and it has been for a long time, more than a decade, just the amount of time as the entire thing's been saturated with isekai. So if you take it and you view it from this angle, yeah, you understand how Frieren was able to take its place. Now, is it gonna stay here? Well, that's a more pertinent question. Is this just a momentary thing where it's gonna stay like this for maybe the next few months, and then Full Metal Alchemist fans are just gonna completely clamor by just making those bot accounts while just giving 10s to Full Metal Alchemist the entire time? Could happen. It's always happened in the history of my anime list. But maybe it'd be nice for Frieren to stay at number one. Now, is it personally my number one favorite anime? Not really. I mean, at this moment, my number one favorite anime is stuck at number 3 on this list. And again, I'm just factoring in how people feel about it on my anime list. I know all around the world, everyone's favorite anime is not the exact same. If you look at Japan, it's still probably One Piece, because One Piece is One Piece, and One Piece has always been king somehow. This is kind of what like the Western world, the United States, has been feeling about it. I love this series, and I'm glad that everyone else pretty much unanimously loved the series as well. But with that, what did you guys think about this? Is Frieren a generational, once-in-a-lifetime anime? Or is it just a run-of-the-mill anime that, who knows, maybe got a little bit lucky? Please, let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to know what you guys think, because I think there's a lot of diverse opinions here. And as always, I was Bayfond, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.